We've known each other for a while. You've been a consistent exhibitor in all of our home design and remodeling shows. But let's start off. Tell me about Feller Financial Services, and really tell me what homeowners should look for in a financial advisor.
Yeah, so we run an independent financial practice here in Boca Raton, Florida. And diving right into that first question is one that I absolutely love. There's a ton of fiduciaries in South Florida, but to give you the direct answer, what every homeowner should look for is a fiduciary. But what does that mean? What has been the history of the fiduciary relationship with clients? It's a little bit more interesting and a little bit more in depth. So, like I said, I've been operating as a fiduciary for 15 years. Essentially, what that means is that we put our clients' interests first at all times. So I think back to the 80s, growing up with my dad, driving around in his station wagon, and we'd go to the bank, he'd go see his banker, take out some cash, and then maybe the next day he's going to meet with his insurance guy, and maybe the stockbroker the week after. So he had all of these relationships. And the funny thing about them is none of them were communicating. And what I've learned from my experience in this business is going back, only the very wealthy people could afford to work with fiduciaries. But technology is a terrific thing, Adam. And essentially with scale and technology, what's happened over time is anybody really can work with a fiduciary to make it simple and why this really works for homeowners. I look at my homeowners as they're the quarterback, and my job is to be the coach. So if you're my dad in the 80s, to get a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end, you got to go to 3 different places. But if you work with a fiduciary, what that allows me to do is work with my quarterback directly to make sure we're getting the ball into the right hands, depending on the play. So essentially, at all given times during this homeowner relationship, there's going to be things that come up and things that are going to need to be changed. So rather than having to go 3 different directions, you have someone that's directly responsible for your independent financial success when it comes to home ownership.
Absolutely. And the thing is, when it comes to finances, there's so many different aspects. So being able to simplify it makes life more simplistic for everybody and easier. When looking at home ownership, is that a good financial plan?
The state of Florida makes it that way, right?
Exactly.
With the Homestead Exemption.
The American dream.
Absolutely. So the homeowner exemption or Homestead Exemption actually gives you some asset protection right off the bat. So the funny thing is, a lot of people's homes are their largest asset, yet they ignore it. And I'm going to go back to that American dream thing, because I remember when my grandparents, got off the boat, that was it. They weren't worried about their stock portfolios. They wanted to own real estate, own a home. But as far as being in the financial plan, it's one of the largest assets. And by the way, I'm not against renting either. In certain situations, that can make sense.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about home ownership in the financial plan. As the largest asset, a lot of times what we find is people ignore their home when it comes to their estate plan. They don't have it correctly titled, especially investment properties that could put them at risk. So having a home, understanding the value of it, understand how that value is going to increase over time. If it's a rental property, what sort of income is it going to provide? What sort of taxation is available through home ownership, whether you're passing it on to an heir or selling it? A lot of people don't really know, and these are huge impacts. So when does home ownership really come into play with a financial plan? A lot of times towards the end. Somebody's getting ready to retire, the kids are out of the house, they now have more space than they need. Maybe they want to split the house and get a rental property and another personal residence. It gives them the availability to do that later in life when everyone is preparing for that financial plan anyway, as they get closer to retirement. So being a homeowner and not having it inside of your financial plan could be a very critical mistake, not only for you as an investor, but also for your beneficiaries if things aren't titled correctly. So the fiduciary role, Adam, that allows us to put it all under one big page and one big map to make sure at all times everything makes sense.